Okay. All right. We'll break the silence. Welcome to the Friday morning leadership training. Good to see everybody. We'll have more join us, I'm sure, but we want to get started on time and make sure that we follow through with our commitment to be on time. So if you can put your camera up, please do so. If you have an emergency or there's some reason you need to not have it up, then you need to let us know, but please have your smiling face in front of us. There is a song, I know I say this all the time, called Smiling Faces. You can look it up, but we like to see your smiling faces. So, having said that, I am going to have Joe, are you on?
I'm here.
Can you read our culture piece this morning?
Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
That's because I haven't put it up yet, but I will.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. So what I'd like you to do is read those last 3 paragraphs for us. And this is out of our employee engagement document. Again, these are great things for you to go back in and make sure you're reading and understanding and learning from those. But so let's just read those last 3. This is all about managers and leaders. So take it away, Joe.
As a manager, you hold perhaps the most important role in our company. It is very complicated. You need to be many things at once. The subject matter expert, individual performer, technical or project manager. Some of our managers also are required to be a leader. You are expected to manage yourself, your team, and build and create efficiencies and support and actualize the company's goals, values, and strategies. Your most important role may be that of a catalyst for your team. You set the tone for the work environment. You need to know your employees well, provide them with clear expectations, invest in their development, and build mutually trusting relationships. You are expected to lead them. You are expected to lead a team that is motivated to provide good customer service, to work diligently, and to collaborate with others to reach the performance objectives of the team and company. Your job as a manager is to listen to your employees, learn about their needs and the factors influencing their engagement, and to lead them to take the actions necessary to realize their performance goals.
Great. Thank you. What do we think about this?
Seems like we have a really pivotal role as team leaders and managers.
Okay. And what does that mean? Go a little bit deeper.
Okay,
Explain
crucial, important. We have this other saying that says, if we are to win, it's got to be through the managers. And people, we talked about this over the last few days. People don't leave companies, they leave their manager. People work for not companies, but for their manager. Basically everything that happens inside of an organization is going to be won or lost with the people that are in the business, working with our customers, and the persons who create all of that culture, the most of that culture, is their leader.
Yeah. I mean, you all have the book that says the title of it is what? It's The Manager. That's right. That's right. Thanks, Joe. That's exactly right. It's the manager. So it's about you guys. And it's all about the way that you handle things and, your roles. You have many roles in what we're doing. And there is a difference between management or managers and leaders. And we'll explain that, a little bit later on in this program. But it's important to understand, just what we do and the importance of why we do it. Okay. Any other comments about that piece? Thoughts? Hey, yeah, go ahead. Ashley, were you going to say something?
I actually have written down in a bunch of different places that your most important role may be that of a catalyst to your team. That was so resonating for me, that you would have the ability to help your team expand and grow. And I thought that was a really great piece. I have it written down everywhere. I love it.
Good. Yeah. And what is a catalyst? Do we know what that means a little bit? Any thoughts? Catalyst?
Yeast is a catalyst. It's something that tips the balance and sort of ignites something, like when you have all the ingredients in place, but they're maybe still dormant, and then I feel like you put the catalyst in, and it then is the missing link, and it ignites the process.
Yep, good. Shane, were you going to comment?
Gotta love Google. A person or thing that precipitates an event. A substance that increases the rate of a chemical reaction without itself undergoing any permanent chemical change.
Yeah, so another great way to look at that too is like oil in an engine, helping those pistons run and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of so, but yeah, exactly. I appreciate that, you guys. That's good. So it's important for us to remember what that is, and what your function is. I think that's tremendous for us to remember. So, okay, let me unshare that for a second. Okay. All right. Now I loved this, and I'm going to turn the time over to Ted. He sent out a deal for all of us to read, and it really, really, really fits today's discussion, and I think it's great. So Ted, did you want to take the little piece?
Yeah. Hey, one other thing, Carrie did put out a roadmap, a little bit of where we're going over these first few weeks, but I haven't put out much beyond that. And I don't know if that's by design or but I have it. I mean, I have it written. I have 23 different lessons. Well, it doesn't matter, written down that I can. But I think what I wanted to say is you may be thinking, like, why are we talking about all this stuff? When are we going to get to leadership? And we are. I felt I wanted to start with, again, how to become a lifelong learner. I think that led to curiosity and having an open mind. That was important. Carrie had some modules on creative thinking, finding your thinking place. He has a thing called Think It, Plan It, Do It Now. And then the next thing we'll do is talk about transformational habits. I think that's an important thing to talk about, figuring out a daily process that makes you succeed. And we'll kind of throw out some of the stuff that we like and works for us as an example, and we'll discuss that. Then we'll talk about management versus leadership. Then we'll talk about transformational leadership. Then we'll talk about leadership development. Then 5 attributes of a leader, and then key leadership traits, and then personal development stuff, checklist. I mean, we will get into probably what you're maybe more thinking of, what's the meat of this, when are we going to get to that? And we are, we're close. That kind of starts a little more meaty on lesson 5. I probably think this stuff's more important. That's why it's up front, but it isn't what you may think of as leadership. So if you are confused about where we're going or why we're talking about this stuff. I just think it's a good foundation, but we will be getting into literally discussing what is leadership, how do you transition from an employee to a supervisor to a manager to a leader. And that isn't necessarily the path, because leadership and management are very different. We'll talk about that, management versus leadership. And so probably what you were more expecting is coming, but we're probably a few weeks away till we get through some of these other things. So with that, let's go to the document. Again, it was a little dated and kind of weird. I was even going to drop out the first part, but it was really talking about leadership. I kind of wanted to focus in on the last part, is why I gave it to you. Kind of talking about how he says that he believes deity creates and thinks of stuff, and then he talks about what we can do. So anybody, I can either push it up, or if you all got it in front of you, I guess we can just talk about it. We've only got a few minutes. I can't do both, so hang on a sec. Let me move it.
I'm trying to find it.
I have it open, so I can share, but I don't know if there's
I
any.
can also. I can share if you'd
just
like.
I'll share it, and then
Okay.
Everybody see that?
Yep.
Yep.
And so I can see a bunch of you been in here. I shared rather than, I think, because I started on my iPad because I pasted out of my Kindle. I think I ended up doing a SharePoint thing so I can see a bunch of you been in here, and even though this shows like it's on my hard drive or on my computer, you guys have been in here looking at it and highlighting it. So who has something that they'd like to share? Anything jump out to anybody on it? And if anybody can help me call on people, I can't.
I can see if we have a hand go up or anything. Most of those highlights are probably mine, I think. But
Maria Amador.
Yep.
And then I certainly have stuff to share if people don't want to. Go ahead, Maria.
So the first thing that popped out for me was that second paragraph that says the world loves a leader. All over the world, in every walk of life, people are eagerly seeking for someone to follow. That really popped out for me because we always say we don't want to be micromanaged. We want to be given the liberty to do and think. And a lot of us don't have like that leader mentality. It's just easier for other people to say, oh, I'm gonna, follow Ted because Ted has all the answers, and whatever he says we're gonna do. So that really like kind of hit home. Not that I'm like that, but yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I like this next one too. To instill confidence in people, the leader must have utter confidence in themselves. Maybe not utter confidence, but at least I think you need to have some sort of an inner compass, either about what's truth, what's good, what you are trying to do. If you're sort of rudderless, it's pretty hard to lead others when you don't know where you're going. So, Arturo?
Yeah, so in the beginning of the third paragraph, it says success doesn't come to you by accident. It comes as a logical result of the operation of law. Mind working through your brain and your body makes your world. And I feel so identified with this little sentence because many people will think, oh, you just have luck to get into what you're doing right now. And it's all progression. And that's one of our cultural values here at SMART.
Awesome. I also love the next sentence, it is not a better, bigger world, one that is due to your limited thoughts and beliefs. And so much of, I think all of our stuff that comes, I really do think that most of the stuff that we come up against in life is our own stuff. It's our own self-limiting beliefs. It's our own doubt. It's our own criticisms. It's our own stuff. And those self-limiting things, they dam back the flood of ideas that your mind, and he talks about universal mind or mind. It's kind of your subconscious or it's your non-conscious or your subconscious mind. A lot of people in this era, there's a guy named the Master Key System. It doesn't matter, but there's a whole bunch of people in thought that say, that really can tap into this universal mind or into, even you can connect with deity in a sense to say there is unlimited potential to create. And so that self-limiting beliefs, they hold back your subconscious mind, and it's trying to manifest great things through you. And then the statement, God never made a failure of nobody, or a nobody, sorry. All right, Shantae, are you first in line?
Yeah, I was just going to say something along those exact lines. I have actually a quote on my vision board that I look at every day that says, "You are what you manifest." And the reason I have that there is because I just what this document is saying, everything does start with your thoughts, your internal, mind. The mind is so powerful. That was the overencompassing theme that I got from this entire document, was just your mind is so powerful. And the part that I highlighted on here was the line that says, "We draw to ourselves unlimited power or limit ourselves to humble positions according to our own beliefs." So, me, and I love examples. So, and I love it when, like the universe or whatever shows me things that I already know to be true, but like evidence of that. So I have a funny story. Yesterday, my son came home from school. He's in a quinceañera this weekend, actually tonight. And they've been practicing for 3 weeks, hard. And so is my nephew, some of my nieces. And my son got in the car and immediately said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out, Mom. I'm so worried about this. What if I fail? What if I mess up in front of everyone?" And I immediately, stopped him and said, "Your mind is so powerful. What you believe is what's actually going to happen. You manifest that. So don't speak those things. Don't think those things. You've practiced, believe in yourself." We had this whole conversation. So we go to my nephew's football game last night. During the first quarter, he's down. Medics are on the field. They're carrying him off in a stretcher. He broke his ankle. But the first thing my sister said when that happened was she looked at me and said, "Oh my gosh, he's been telling me for 2 days. What if I get injured at football practice before the performance on Friday, Mom? What if I get injured? Maybe I shouldn't go to the practice. Maybe I shouldn't go to the game because what if I get hurt?" And first quarter, he broke his ankle the day before the quinceañera that he's been practicing for months. So I looked at my son and said, that's the power of the mind. What you really believe manifests itself in your life. You can either manifest good things, or there's always the negative side to that. You can manifest negative things as well. So we have to be really careful what we hold true and what we believe and what we focus on. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. Real quick before Joe, I don't know if I've told this story about. So I've gone to racing school. I know I've said that I've done racing school twice, but in there, before you get in the cars or anything, they spend a lot of time in the classroom with you. And one of the first things they teach you is where you look is where you go. Because what happens if we really start going, someone's going to spin out. And so they talk about when you start spinning out, if you look at the wall, you will hit the wall. I don't know how it works, but it's a given that if the car's spinning out of control at 80 miles an hour, and you look to be like, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to hit the wall," it absolutely, you go to the wall. They explain probably how it works, but I don't know. I just know you look at the wall, you hit the wall. So what you do when you're spinning out, you don't worry about the wall, you look at the track. You just look with your eyes as you're driving, race car spinning down out of control on the track. You look at the track and the car goes on the track. So where we look is in life, and what we worry about is where we go. So thank you. Joe.
Mine was the near exact same. They have the same thing with pilots and with all of the prep work that they have to do with simulators to become pilots. They say what you focus on, you get. And so if you focus, I don't want to hit something, almost all of the pilots, when they focus on that. So it's this interesting thing about the power of suggestion and also the law of attraction. When you're telling yourself, stop telling yourself what you don't want in your life, and you get very specific about what you do want, because what you focus on, you get. And what your brain hears when you say, I like with Shantae's son, I don't want to be injured. I don't want to be injured. What is it that you're focusing on? And if you can say something like this, I want to be safe, or I want to win, or I want to have great, right?
it is just this amazing ability about both the power of suggestion as well as your subconscious knows what it is that you're worried about, and it just has this way of bringing it into your life if that's what you're focusing on.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll probably stop there just for time, but if you haven't read it, I think it's worth reading, which I guess why I bothered to paste it and take it out of my Kindle, but I think it's kind of interesting, just gives you something to think about. And I think the bottom line is you guys have amazing potential, you are amazing beings, and there is unlimited potential within you. And you don't need anything. You don't need a circumstance. You don't need another person. You don't need an education. You don't need the way you were brought up. You don't need to be in a certain place. You already have what you need, and you're just perfect and great. Just believe it, tap into it, and go conquer the world and get what you want. So,
Ed, can you scroll down? Will you scroll down to that
Yep.
bottom piece?
Can you
So
guys see that?
Yep. So I just wanted to kind of hit on that as we're transitioning over to the program. So creative imagination. Again, I looked at this and I went, whoa. So you have that gift. Ted just mentioned that. Use it. Make every thought, every fact that comes into your mind pay you a profit. Make it work and produce for you. Think of things not as they are, but as they might be. Make them real, live, and interesting. Don't merely dream, but create. Then use your imagination to make the creation of advantage to mankind and incidentally yourself. So thank you, Ted. Again, I loved this whole piece, and I thought, what a great way to transition into what we're talking about today. What did we talk about last week? Do you remember? Anybody remember?
It was our thinking places.
Our thinking places. So hopefully you went out and you found your thinking place, or you went to your thinking place and you started using your thinking place and not let it slip away. It's important for us to remember. And as we get into this creative thinking, it's just so powerful for us to make sure that we're focused when we're doing these things, so we can use them properly. I'm going to pull up a couple of slides here. So again, a lot of you know, or some of you do, and maybe some of you don't have any clue, but anybody know who this is?
Walt Disney.
Walt. So I love studying Walt's life. He was such a creative thinker and way beyond his time and his ability. And he holds a special place in my heart. During a very rough time of my life when I didn't have a dad, Walt was kind of my surrogate father. He was the person that every Sunday night at 6 o'clock, Walt came on and talked about Disney, and then you'd have the Wonderful World of Color, with the Disney program. So he was a person who I loved to study and learn about his life. And so as we think about Walt, and we'll talk a little bit more about him here in a minute, if we think about some of the things he did and used his mind. Money was not the factor for him. He had Roy, who was his brother, and he always just tell Roy, just go get the money. You're the money guy, and Walt never worried about the money ever. And it got him in trouble sometimes, but he never worried about the money. I don't know if you know this fact, but Walt holds the most Academy Awards than any other person. He won more Academy Awards than anybody. So it's amazing. But we talked about curiosity a little last week, and the whole point behind this is being curious. It is part of our culture piece, being curious. And ideas come from curiosity, from asking, questions, from digging in and letting your mind expand and grow. And I love this, quote as well. Why sometimes I've believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Okay. Have you done that before? Have you sat down? Do you let your mind wander and be creative to where you've got 6 impossible things to do before breakfast that you can solve and work on? That's the part of being creative and the power behind it. Imagination is the only weapon in the war against reality. Now, look, there is reality, but we have got to use our imaginations and start thinking and creating and doing these amazing things. So I asked a question last week, and we talked a little bit about the video that we watched before. And I hope that you thought about that a little bit. How many of you are highly creative? Now, you still may be in doubt. You've got to get over the doubt. You've got to get over the doubt. You have to be that creative person. And there's many, many ways, but part of that is creative thinking, okay? It's not necessarily art, although that's creativity, doing those sorts of things, but it's about creative thinking. So when we think of the word creative thinking, what does that mean? What does it mean to you? Yes, Maria.
To me, it means kind of thinking outside the box of the norm. So you see a
Yes.
box and you don't do what's inside that box. You kind of do what fits your narrative.
Yes, and we're going to talk about, that's one of our things we're going to talk about today or next week, however long it takes us, but about thinking outside the box. And I'm going to give you a little exercise to see how good you are at thinking outside the box. So that'll be good. Thank you. Shane?
Yeah, I had the same thing, thinking outside the box, doing things differently than you were told to do it, right? Taught to do it. It's not that it's wrong the way that you were asked to do it, but thinking of new and unique ways, right? So I guess another word would be differentiation.
Okay, differentiation. Yep. Any other thoughts about that?
This is a great point that we help people understand what clean and green and success and outcomes look like instead of instead of the steps to get there, so people can use their creativity and ingenuity. It really, putting creativity in your work is the joy of work. And so if you take that away by telling everyone exactly what they have to do and when they have to do it and why they have to do it in all the little things and all the little steps, we miss the opportunity to create, and we miss the opportunity to let others create and the joy in their work.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Creative thinking. What does that entail? What does that mean? Creative thinking. And how much time have you spent doing creative thinking, do you think? Have you spent any time doing creative thinking? Any thoughts on that? Okay, so let's go into this a little bit. I've got a number of things here that I think are really fun to discuss, but creative thinking, it's not necessarily original thinking, it's a composite of thoughts discovered along the way. And we want to daydream. So I want you to daydream today. A lot of times people go, okay, hey, look, pay attention, don't be daydreaming. I want you to daydream today. I want you to think creatively. There are 6 things here I wanted to cover. Creative thinkers value ideas. Okay, they value ideas. They're highly creative people are dedicated to ideas. What does that mean? That we're dedicated to ideas. And do you have any, Maria?
That you're open to other people's ideas and you can add to it.
Okay. That's right. Other thoughts? Creative thinkers value ideas. Do you have lots of ideas? Are you stuck in a rut, or do you have ideas? Okay, creative thinkers, number 2, explore options. Okay, they explore options. How do we do that? How do we explore options? What's one way that you do to explore options? Joe?
So I've been having a lot of fun with the explore options way, and Ted has actually shared this with me. And it was what would need to be true. And so it's like asking ourselves this question that says, okay, so I want to go to Washington, D.C., right? What would need to be true for me to do that? And you can set the hows and the what's, but if you start asking yourselves, if this is what I want, what in my life needs to prove out to be true to do that, or to get that, or to have that, or to go there? It's one of the best exercises I've found to really just get those creative juices going.
Yeah. And we need to get them going. So, and I'm trying to help you guys today. I need you to get your ideas going, get those options going. Ivan, what was your thought?
I think sometimes it's taking a risk, just going for it and seeing if it works or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how do we ever find out if we don't step into the darkness a little bit and see if that is possible, So that's good. Having those options. I pulled up the paper here that I'm kind of going through with you. So, as we think about each one of these, just again, creative thinkers, this is each one of these things kind of describe that. So creative thinkers embrace ambiguity. Anybody know what ambiguity means? This is a good opportunity for us to learn definitions too. Ambiguity. What is it? Shane?
Ashley, let's let Ashley do it.
Okay. Ashley. Which Ashley or which
I think
Ashley?
it was Ashley Labram had her hand up.
Sorry, I couldn't get unmuted.
Okay.
Ambiguity is like being open to more than one interpretation. Like it's being okay with things not being exactly dress right dress.
That's right. So there's options. And if there's options, again, there's creative thinking. So we want to embrace ambiguity, knowing that there's more than just one way to do things. Okay. So how can you use that in your current position? Bree, what do you think? How can you use ambiguity? There's more than one way to look at things with your team, with your group, in your job.
Well, I think it's allowing somebody to, I guess the best way to be allowing them to come up with their own ideas, allowing to ask the questions and have them come up with something instead of me telling them what they should do. That's what I would think.
So we had a meeting the last couple of days, Bree. Did we do that at all?
Oh yeah, I would say we definitely did.
Lots of ideas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of ideas. So that is important. Just know that there are other things, and we got to ask questions. We need to ask lots of questions. Shane?
It's also not being afraid to be creative. It's not being afraid to go to the group and voice your idea, because you know that the group that you're with isn't going to come back and be like, well, that was stupid. That's not going to happen. That's not who we are. And that's definitely not how to treat others.
No. And that's a great way to kill ideas. Okay. So very good. Yes. Creative thinkers celebrate the offbeat. Yes. Ashley Hosang.
Yeah, so talking about that, every time I have a meeting with my team, they already know that the title for most of these meetings are "Let's do our brainstorming meeting." And we just all sit down and they come up with all their ideas. And sometimes we just make like shakes of all and each idea. And of course, that's a very nice example of ambiguity. Did I pronounce
Ambiguity.
it?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't pronounce
Yeah.
it correctly.
No, you got it. That's good. Good. Yes. So, as we think about these things, they celebrate the offbeat, the different, the, crazy things. And it's okay to think crazy a little bit. If we don't sometimes find some of these pieces we're looking for. They connect that, the unconnected. And I think that's important, to be able to connect one idea to another. Creative ideas become more creative when you have a plan. Creative thinkers, this is an important one, F there, as you can see it. They don't fear failure. Okay. Failure is just part of learning. So how many of you, I think everybody here, I don't think I'll offend anybody, how many of you here can walk pretty good? You can all walk pretty good. Okay. When you were 9 months old, were you pretty good at walking? Now you don't remember, but you probably, if you have kids at 9 months old, you probably weren't walking well, or you weren't walking at all. How many times do you think you fell down when you were learning to walk? Like, often. Can you imagine if you said, oh crap, I've fallen down twice now, I'm just not going to do this walking thing. I'm just not going to do it. Okay. Where would you be today in your ability to walk if you gave up as a 9 or 10-month-old toddler? Where would you be? Sitting in a chair, somebody's probably wheeling you around. Okay, because you quit. But failure was not a bad thing. You just, the problem is not getting up, and as a child we just keep getting up, and we keep getting up, and we keep getting up. Sometimes we fall and we get hurt, but we just keep getting up. And so fearing failure is huge when we are thinking about creativity. We don't want to fear failure. We know that's going to happen. So another quote here: creativity is intelligence having fun. And that's an awesome thing to think about. It's intelligence having fun. It's a great place for us to really just enjoy the process. So I want to share a couple of things with you. Let me stop that presentation and pull up this deal again. Okay. Sorry, it takes me just a second here. Okay. So Maria brought this up, and I want you to draw some dots. Take a piece of paper out. I want you to draw these 9 dots. Okay. Draw them just like you see them. And I've done this thing for years. It's a lot of fun. Very few people have ever gotten it, but I want you to think. So I want you to be creative. Okay. But here's the instructions here. Draw 4 straight lines through all the dots without lifting your pen or pencil or whatever. Okay. So try and draw that. You can take multiple times to do it. Draw 4 straight lines through all the dots without lifting your pen. And tell me if you've done it. Okay, Joe, Ivan, okay. And then I'm going to judge whether you got it right or not. Remember, just think creatively, think outside the box. Is it hard? Is it challenging? Okay, somebody hold one of theirs up and let's just see how well you did. Okay, Shane, I can see yours. Joe. Okay, Joe. Shantae. So now okay. Mariah. Okay. Okay, Ivan. So you drew 4 lines and didn't lift your pencil, right? So some of you do have a different way of getting there, but let me share with you the answer to it. Okay. Can you all see that? So when you see that, and you know, Joe was the first one to hold up his piece. What was the answer to that?
Thinking outside the lines.
Thinking outside the box.
Exactly.
Okay.
We made this assumption that we had to do it within sight of the, the outer boxes. But once you start thinking, or the outside of the outer dots, once you start thinking beyond those outer dots, it becomes a lot easier and more possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It is very possible when you start thinking outside that box. Shane?
Shantae messaged us, I want to say it was last week, about not coloring in the lines.
Right.
Right. About the conversation with her son to say, why do you, was it Sean? No, it was Ashley. Maybe it was Ashley.
No, it was Shantae talked about, it was Mariah, actually, I think.
Oh, Mariah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, she was talking about Mariah. Was that right, Shantae?
The
I
coloring
think
in the
they're
outside of the
talking
lines was
about
Ashley.
Ashley.
Yeah.
It
was
was
Ashley.
trees. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Trees.
So Ashley's son colored the tree wrong. I can't believe it. So yeah, go ahead, Shane.
That was it. I was just giving that as an example.
Okay,
it's very
good.
similar.
Yeah, it is, and and we'll talk a little bit about that in this program as well. Shantae.
For me, when I was doing this, my first thought was, well, they're all straight lines. I mean, as long as they're not curved lines, right? So that was kind of my like out of the box thinking. I'm like, so in my drawing, I guess I started at the right corner and went to the left corner and down. Basically, my first line was outlining the box, because to me, I'm like, even though there's corners, what's the definition of straight? It's not curved.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not crooked. It's not, so I'm like, these are all straight lines to me. So that counts as a straight line because I didn't lift my pencil up. So I think
Right.
it's all, kind of just how you interpret that.
Well,
that's
the whole
out of the box thinking.
Yeah, that's the whole point behind this, right? So there's a couple of ways to achieve, the goal. There were some different ways. So we have ambiguity. So, but it's to help you think outside the box. And we get so trapped in the box that it makes it hard. Now, Ted had mentioned in the beginning, he said, you know, you guys are probably waiting, like, where's the leadership thing coming? You know, when's that going to happen? When are we going to start talking about leadership? As we spent some time in this strategy session the last couple of days, I'm going to tell you that if you don't have this creative thinking, you know, it's tough to be a leader if you can't think outside the box and ask better questions and that sort of thing. It's really important for us to make sure that we are thinking outside the box. Who just posted that?
Of course, Joe did, because I can't not Google something.
Okay, so that's another great idea.
One straight line, guys. So
yeah, that's another great way to accomplish that. I think that's awesome. See, and that's the whole point. When we think in terms of leadership and we're thinking about, you know, trying to solve problems, we do have to think outside the box sometimes and really start to focus in on what we can do. Let me go back one more time here to share my screen. So hang on. So as we do this, we're going to do another little exercise here. And I'll kind of explain in the beginning. So I have a program. This is my next book, by the way. Do not steal the title from me. But smell the popcorn. What the heck does that mean, to smell the popcorn? Okay. So how many of you have actually been to Disneyland or Disney World? Anybody? Okay. So most of you have. Joe?
I was just raising my hand saying I had no comment.
Sorry. Okay. I thought you had sorry. So yeah, so most of us have been there. When you pull up into the parking lot, you get out, you go get your tickets, and then you walk through security, which is right here, and everybody gets their picture in front of this deal. But are we in Disneyland yet? I mean, how do you actually get into Disneyland itself? Do you have any idea?
Go through the tunnel. Yeah, you go through the tunnel to the right or the left.
So you go through this tunnel, okay? And as you go through the tunnel, you'll notice some things. I don't know if you ever have done this before. I went my first time when I was 10 years old, and that was back in 1967 or somewhere in that neighborhood. So this has been a long time ago. But these things were happening. As you walk through the tunnel, what do you see on the right-hand side of the tunnel? What is that? Right here.
Movie posters.
Movie posters.
Yeah, so they look like movie posters, but they're actually posters of upcoming events. But the intent that Walt had was that it looked like a movie poster. And as you walk through the tunnel, you are starting to feel this thing about movies, okay? And then as you go through, there's a sign right here that I don't know if any of you've ever read, okay? But this sign says, "Here you leave today, and you enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy." Okay? And he's trying to create something. He's creating an environment as you walk in. He is putting you, each of us, as we go into Disney World or Disneyland, he's putting us into the movie. Walt was, you know, an animator. He created great movies, and he's bringing people from the outside world into this new world that he's created. Now, you'll notice that the train that you see up here sits on kind of a big hill, right? It's called a berm. And everything that Walt created is inside that berm. Why do you think he did that? Why do you think he created this wall all the way around Disney World or Disneyland? Why did he do that? He didn't want, yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I mean, first off, California is just on the other side of that berm, right? Your old life is on the other side, and so if you raise up your visibility, it just disappears from everything else in the entire, going on outside of this place.
That's exactly right. He didn't want you to see the world outside of this world. So he's pulled you in to this world. And the last thing that he did, now they don't do this anymore, unfortunately, but as you walk through the tunnel, the first thing you're going, and he uses all the senses, your sight, the sounds, and everything. It's just amazing what he's done here. And this was Walt that created this. But one of the first things that you do is you smell popcorn. Have you ever noticed that? You walk through where the movies are, and you're walking through this berm, and he's pulled you into this environment that he wants you to be in. And the first thing you do is you smell popcorn. Why? This is 10 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning. And is popcorn usually on your mind? Probably not. Why popcorn? When you think of movies and something to eat, what do you think of first? Well, some people will think candy, but you'll think popcorn. You're thinking as you walk into the movie, should I buy some popcorn? Again, he's trying to create this experience. He's trying to create this experience. Okay. So as we think about Walt, and this creation, he's created this and put us into this situation. What if we started thinking those same ways? What if we started thinking about how do we create, within our company? How do we create these ideas? And Walt, when he used to do animation, would use what we call a storyboard. Have you heard of a storyboard before? Now, not a vision board. We'll talk about that later in the program, but a storyboard. What is a storyboard? Who knows what a storyboard is? Yeah, Maria? Do you know?
My mic was off and I was talking.
Okay.
It's kind of like when you're in school and they teach you how to do like the critical thinking with the bubble in the middle. You start with like the concept and then you come out with all the ideas you have.
Right. Right. So all of the animations that Walt did, he'd bring his animators in and they would use storyboarding. And storyboarding is used across, a lot of movies, everything. This is how they create. They use storyboards. So as we think about that today, I want us to think about an idea here, and we're going to storyboard today for just a few minutes. Okay. I want you to think creatively, and we're going to storyboard for a few minutes. How do we help our teams to feel important and to use their strengths and their talents every day? Now, we're going to storyboard through chat. So I want you to start posting your ideas up on the storyboard. And then as you see things, it may also click on you, and you'll have generated an idea off of that idea. But I want everybody to post at least one idea about how do we help our team to develop, to use their strengths and talent, and to grow as managers. How do we do that? Asking for their ideas. Great. Okay. Identify what their talent is. Okay. Perfect. to challenge them to solve a client or candidate problem, okay, on their own. How do we help our team? Oh, sorry, Joe just posted. Meet with them often. Okay. Ask, and ye shall receive. Highlight their strengths. Okay. Challenge their own questions. To play off their strengths and utilize them. Opening up a dialogue with them to let them know that they have a voice. Okay. Genuinely care about their growth. Help them build a sense of belonging to the team. Okay. Keep going. Give them a project and let them run with it. Did everybody get a chance to do one? Okay, I was going to say the same thing as Shane. Okay, Ashley. Or was that Bree? Was that, oh, that was Bree, sorry. Empower them to tell you what? Was there more to that, Shantae? Empower them to tell you.
Yeah, empower them to tell you what they think they're gifted at, and then ask them how they can use that gift in a creative way, and then help them find a project where they can use their creativity and own that project in that way.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, the whole thing didn't come up. So give them power. Empower them, yeah. Arturo, that's right. Empower them. Celebrate wins and losses. Okay. Empower them and let them do it. Just do it. Any others? Did everybody get a chance? Everybody put something up? So let's see here. We had at least 6, I don't know, 15. I can't count them all, but look at the ideas off of one creative storyboard. Can you use this with your teams to come up with ideas? Look how fast you guys did this. It only took us a couple of minutes. I was sitting here thinking, maybe we don't have enough time to do this, but look at the ideas. Now, these are saved in the chat, which I think is great. You know, pull those back, go into the chat later on and say, okay, I want to help my team. So here's some great ideas. And then you can build off of those ideas. You can move them around. You can build a whole format. You can build a whole program based around the ideas that we just got through this. Okay. We talk about helping them use their strengths and their talents. We talk about helping them grow and develop and build. Here's a whole bunch of ideas for us to be able to put that into place as managers. So the opportunity for us to use this creative thinking. Now, we're not done. I still have some more stuff next week that we'll talk about. We'll probably finish up next week. We're going to talk a little bit about creativity killers, and then some great ideas on how to build a creative environment. Okay. We want you to be able to build an environment within your group. So it's not about you dictating everything to them. It's about going to the group and having this, this collaboration and this ability to help each other grow. So today, let's take just a minute, because we have a minute left, and write down what you learned today, what jumped out at you. Write down at least one thing, maybe 2 things, maybe 3 things that you learned through our discussion today and even last week, because we kind of ran out of time last week in finding a thinking place. Could be from, the discussion that we had with with Ted's piece that he sent out, which I learned a tremendous amount. So write down one or two things and what you might do to take action this week to make that happen. Anybody have just one that they thought of, they want to share? Maria?
So basically, everything we learned today with your presentation and Ted's presentation is basically what I tell my kids. Like, we don't give up. When they fail, they keep going. So I think that's what we've been learning today.
Great, thank you. Shane?
It made me think of a movie that I watched with my kids called Meet the Robinsons. And at the end of that movie, there's a quote from Walt Disney that says, "Around here, however, we don't look backwards for very long. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors and doing new things. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths."
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. And that actually fell right in line with this whole conversation.
Yeah, that's one of Walt's, it is a famous saying, actually. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Anybody else have something they wrote down? So again, as we think about this, leaders, managers, coaches, we want you to know that thinking creatively is a major part of you being a leader, manager, coach. And if you feel like you're not creative, we've got to work on that. We've talked about this before. We need your ideas. We need your thoughts. We need I loved all of the things you presented on just a few minutes. So if we can do that more with your teams, you can call it brainstorming, whatever, but you might think about storyboarding and actually having them come up with a post-it note and put it on the whiteboard, or take a pen and write an idea up on the whiteboard or a marker, and start thinking outside the box. You've all had a chance to think outside the box. You've had a chance to think creatively today. Stop putting limits on yourself. You're not limited. Stop it. And use these ideas that you wrote down today. Think about them. Go out and take action on them. And, let's just see what we can accomplish. So next week, we'll finish off the creative thinking piece. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your participation, your ideas. Be creative. Be creative. Have a great weekend. Go create something. I don't know, make a mud pie or something like that. Have a good weekend, you guys, and take care. We'll see you guys all next week.